Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people. I'm so happy to see you all. You all are gorgeous. How many of you are interested in having more wealth and prosperity in your life? How many of you are interested in getting out of the syndrome of good days and bad days? Do you know there's a way to arrest that? Is it going to be perfect? That's not what I said. Does it need to be perfect? Do you need to have a perfect day? No, you don't. You need to have a good day, which starts with your energy. And what we're going to talk about today is the energy that you create within you. A lot of you have been at Agape for a long time. And how many of you read your own metaphysical books, The Secret or Think and Grow Rich? And you have your favorite books, correct? All right. Does that help you feel good, create energy within you when you read any kind of spiritual book? Okay, we're going to talk about that today. But the main focus of today is to talk to you and show you how you can create the energy within you to create the life that you want. There's a secret at the very end of the program that puts it all together that will put a little different spin on The Secret, which is a marvelous book, or Think and Grow Rich. It's emphasized a lot in Think and Grow Rich, but that will be at the conclusion. Here's a beautiful picture of me. I'm Richard Levy. Would my wife agree with that? I hope so. Hi, Ann. I am host of a radio show on the internet, Blog Talk Radio. Has anybody heard of Blog Talk Radio? Okay, you can listen to many different subjects. My show is called Wealthy Thoughts. I've had it for several years, thousands of listeners in the U.S. and outside of the U.S., around the world, people who are interested in having more out of life. I am as worthy of it as you are worthy of it. You deserve it. I also send out a prosperity message. I've been doing it several years to thousands of people. It's a free message to remind you when you wake up. Put off the emails, the texting. Why? Who feels more important than emails and texting? Your life, that is. Okay. How about the funny jokes on the internet? Which way do you think you're going to attract more prosperity in your life? Reading the text messages, the jokes, and the morning news. I've already talked to somebody this morning who does not even read and watch the news, or reading your prosperity messages, reading your favorite books. This is how you're going to change your attitude in life, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I've written a book, Thoughts Make You Wealthy. We're going to talk about that. Some of you picked that up, but I want to talk to you about what that book will do for you if you work the book. I have thousands of people who read my messages, my entries, my posts on Facebook, and I have a wonderful woman who helps put colorful pictures on it. How many of you like colorful pictures? Color adds, instead of just reading text, seeing something blue with pictures of mountains, the Grand Canyon, an oasis. Does that help you when you read an inspiring message to feel good and meditate on more? That's it. So we like color, we like visualization. We're going to talk about visualization today, how you can visualize goals, the life you want to have. What you're going to hear from me today also, ladies and gentlemen, is why some of this stuff doesn't work. How many of you have affirmations you read sometimes during the day? Now, let's be honest. How many of you sometimes read affirmations? Thank you for your honesty. I love you very much for that. I'm one of you. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Mostly I do. In fact, I really just, forgive me for lying, I actually have been saying affirmations for many, many years. I'm from Houston, Texas. I don't have the strong accent anymore. I will when my wife and I move from the Midwest, from Chicago, Illinois, down to Texas once we sell our condominium. We're going to talk about selling anything in life, mostly yourself, but in the middle of the presentation, I'm going to talk about how we sold our condo here in Dallas in the bottom of the market and how we did it with some tips I'm going to pass on to you that you can use to change your life. I began to read these metaphysical books. Anybody heard of the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz? That was the first book that the universe brought to me through became my college roommate at University of Texas, gave me the book when I was in a junior high school in Houston. And Dr. Maltz talked about after he would operate on a man or woman and change their exterior, they felt more confident. They felt better about themselves. They attracted more success, more love and abundance. And then he thought to himself, what if I were not to pull out the scalpel, the knife, the surgery tools, and teach them how to think differently? Well, that got my attention. And I bring that to you because I had a very big challenge in life. How many of you have gone through a divorce or know somebody who went through a divorce? Not a real happy experience. Emotions of hurt, anger, isolation, rejection, sadness. As a young boy in Houston, my parents' divorce in my family was the American family. A doctor, a very educated mother. The whole family's educated, but the bottom fell out in the early 60s, and they divorced. And there was a lot of hurt, a lot of anger. And I noticed that as I started reading these metaphysical books on how to affirm love, appreciation, and start to begin affirmations, visualizations, that does not mix with anger, one or the other. And what happened when I went to a college that's semi-well-known in the state called the University of Texas in Austin, and actually it was in 1971, I'm 61, so I was 18 years old. I was between high school in Houston and beginning the fall semester at University of Texas. I had a horrible telephone fight with my sister on the telephone, way before cell phones, way before emails or text messages, the old-fashioned telephone. How many of you remember telephones? Okay, it's still around. And she called me. I was feeling great. The energy was high. I was saying my affirmations. I was working at an airport in Austin, at the municipal airport, and she called, and she was, for the 52,000th time, angry at me because of something I did. Now, what was behind her anger? She was angry at me and, used a modern term, nuked me. Almost looked at the telephone as it was turning red for not being angry at our father. My sister was livid at my father for leaving. My brother also was livid, and my mother was rejected. Where was Richard in that? Well, I did not want to join that party. And I had an inspiration, intuitive feeling, that is it. And I hung up the phone after using a little bit of language that's not appropriate for this room. But I believe I communicated to her. I made a choice at that time to not join the anger party. Now, I had a choice. That was why I could give up on myself. How many of you have had choices in life, and there are big choices, to surrender yourself to please them, to make them happy? In the meantime, you are forgetting who you are. Has anybody ever done that? Okay. All of us have done that one time or the other. I hung up the phone and I said, I am talking about a divorce. I am going to divorce my family, at least right now. I am not going to join the anger. I decided to, at that point, aviation was my passion. I started flying as a young boy in Houston. At University of Texas, I decided I'm going to put my way through college, pay my way. I'm going to work at the airport. I'm going to teach flying. I will then go into the military, but I'll have nothing to do with them at all ever again. Now, I did have something to do with them again, but I want to tell you about anger in case any of you have choices, have felt anger towards a family member. Has anybody ever felt anger towards a parent, a sister, a sibling? Once, maybe? Just, it came and went, right? Okay. I made the choice to go the way of affirmations and visualizations. Now, the serious side, what happened to my dear sister? Killed her. That's what anger will do. You have a choice. And yeah, it hits me hard because you can choose anger. We can choose anger towards family, towards the world. And what you're deciding to do is drink the poison. Anger will kill you. It has nothing to do with them. Unfortunately, she never learned that. It killed her at 31 years old, nervous breakdown, and you can't live that way. Now, does that make me bitter because I chose to go that way? It's not the point, not a bit. Other family members have elected to keep along the anger route. So I put my way through college, University of Texas, graduated, joined the United States Air Force as a pilot, and I've been a pilot. Sorry. I think about her because she never got to see it because of her anger, extreme anger. I've been a pilot with American Airlines since 1977, based here now at Dallas-Fort Worth. So what I want to share with you is when you have choices in your morning, in your afternoon, and your night, whether to be angry, stop drinking the poison. That's a choice. If you bring nothing else to your consciousness after today, stop drinking the poison, because that's what it will do to you. And I want you to take that. And we're going to talk today on a good way to let go of anger. Today, we're going to talk about 7 steps to success for $7. Now, that sounds pretty hokey. If I was sitting in your shoes, I'd wonder, okay, this is another one of those speeches, a marketing ploy to get me here this afternoon, this Sunday, when I could be watching the Cowboys or doing something else or playing with my children. The $7, what that has to do, that's the maximum I guarantee you're going to have to spend to follow what I'm saying today, to practice, not necessarily in this room, but when you go home tonight, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the month of October, November, I want you to start thinking that way, December, January 2015. That is the maximum amount it will cost you. It can actually be free to get a notebook and to get a pen and journalize and write. And I'm going to tell you what I want you to write down through our talk today. But that's all you need to spend is, with tax included, a notebook, pen, or a pencil, and follow what we're talking about today, and your life will change as long as you follow on what we're talking about today. Your life will not be the same. It cannot be the same. Step number 1 of the 7 steps is affirmations. And how many of you in here say affirmations? We talked about that earlier. And what I have up here is on this slide is some affirmations. There's only 1 billion. It's almost infinite amount of affirmations. It does not matter which affirmations you use, mine or somebody else's. I want to actually tell you, do you know that right now you're affirming, you're saying affirmations because you're listening to me, you're processing, and you have memories come up in your mind of past experiences or current experiences. What I have a suggestion up here of some affirmations, which I'm going to go through, and in a moment, I'm going to tell you why affirmations do not work. It's up to you, the choice you make. Once again, choices. Anything you say after I am, you will become. How many have heard I am before? I'm sure you've heard it here at Agape and in your metaphysical books. The good news and the bad news of I am, watch when you are in social situations or watch your own thinking, because you're the thinker of your world, not the person around you, not what's happening in the newspaper. I am smart, I am dumb. I'm here, how about this one? How many have heard this? I am horrible with names. Everybody heard that? Okay. When one says, I am horrible with names, that's connected with becoming a millionaire, except that's the negative way to go. They are convincing themselves that they're horrible with names, and I promise you they will be horrible with names. They will not remember your name at all. If they were to change that and say, I remember names, and if being human, I ask your name, Angelo's name, and he says his name is Angelo, I repeat it to myself, I'm going to remember his name. And there's other memory techniques out there, which we're not going to talk about necessarily today. But if I forget his name when I'm talking to him, I can say, I'm sorry, Angelo, one more time. Or if I see Angelo at Costco or at Walgreens, and I say, I'm so sorry, would you refresh me? But I'm not going to say I'm horrible with names. The same thing with wealth. I am wealth or I am broke. I am broke is not a way to build the bank account. Another one is, it is so expensive to live in New York and Dallas. It's so expensive to shop at Neiman Marcus. They have deals at Neiman Marcus. Whatever you're telling the universe about your money and expenses is what the universe is going to do to you. So you're being watched. Anybody heard of the book, George Orwell, 1984, Big Brother's Watching? The universe is watching. God, whatever your spiritual power is monitoring every single word that you express and every thought going through your mind. Nothing to get paranoid about, but something to be aware of. Now, what happens when you say, that is expensive, I don't know if I can afford it, you chop it off, you reverse it, and you say, instead of, even if your bank account is at a certain level, I didn't say low, I said at a certain level, and you walk by Tiffany's, I talk about this in my book, and you see a $45,000 watch. Dude, please do not say, I could never afford it. That's for rich people. You're telling the universe, do not make me rich. Keep me poor. So what do you say? Instead of being delusional and kidding yourself, that watch will look great on me. And you say it sincerely. I love that watch. You see a Mercedes-Benz go by, not that you want a Mercedes, maybe you love your pickup truck or whatever you're driving. But if you see the Mercedes-Benz go by, that would be a great car to drive. It's not my taste, but it'd be wonderful. Does everybody follow that? Okay. So keep that in mind. I am success, I am wealth, I am health. Instead of talking about my legs, my knees, or my brain's going bad, or my memory's going, I have a great memory. I remember well. And I talk about, without getting personal, we're adults in here, and I talk about in my book, as people get older, they talk about all kinds of functionings changing. Get it? Okay. Well, stop like you're making animal cookies. We talked about them earlier. Baking bread, request the universe to make certain fun parts of intimacy go away, or knees hurting, or memory going. And stop expecting that. Expecting a wonderful body, a healthy body, a wonderful memory. The next point I have here is, I am worthy and deserving. How many of you have been brought up in families, or when you're a child, you got that message, you were not deserving of happiness and wealth and joy and intimacy, okay? So welcome to the world. We were all brought up with imperfect parents, and we are imperfect parents as we are. But it's up to us to rethink that through. And I interviewed a lady on my radio show. Actually, she is a multimillionaire, and she's retired from AT&T, very, very wealthy. And one affirmation she talked about on my radio show, Wealthy Thoughts, was, I am deserving and worthy of a life of abundance. It's a longer affirmation. You want to hear the interview with Cassandra Carr. And I thought that was so beautiful. Who gives you permission to be worthy and deserving? You do. Not your spouse, not the woman at the 7-Eleven, not the man at Costco. You give yourself permission to be worthy and deserving of love, wealth, fun, happiness. Give yourself permission. Does everybody follow that on giving yourself permission? Good. To appreciate and admire myself. I talk about in my book a term, it could be accepted or taken as egotistical. That is, loving yourself. I call it self-celebration. It's a cousin of I am worthy and deserving. Again, for those of us who are brought up around families that either as a large family, you felt forgotten, you were forgotten, or in life, in the busyness of being single parents, or being parents and finding yourself second place, I appreciate and admire yourself. Sometimes we make the mistake of looking for our spouse to give us validation. When people validate you, give you attention, they do that because they love you and they choose to. We can never force them to. And I'm human, and times I will go through that, wanting approval from people. As soon as you notice yourself wanting approval from someone or thinking they're not being nice enough, let that go. And what do? You can affirm to yourself, I appreciate and admire myself. Watch what happens. Your negative energy will be arrested. That's what we're going to talk a lot about today. Sticking with the same affirmation. That's one big message I want to pass on to you. Our affirmations are most effective if you can attempt to stay with the same one. Say it over and over. Become almost a melody to yourself. How many of you, whether it's have songs that have gone through your mind, whether it's the Beach Boys, the Beatles, or Barry Manilow, or anybody today that you hear and you start singing and you can't get out of your mind? Do that with the affirmations. When you're driving your car, say your affirmations. Say them to yourself, sing them. Singing is valid. Even you don't have to only sing in the shower when you're alone, because I know most of you have beautiful voices like I do in the shower. But when you're driving, sing, I am wealth, I am prosperity, because you're hearing your own voice, and that the reverberation of the energy goes down into your soul system. So that will make it more valid. But the key point is feelings. As we begin to talk about why some affirmations do not work. People say affirmations like a parrot. I am wealth. I am wealth. First of all, they get bored. They get disinterested. No reason, no question why. It's no surprise, I should say. You've got to have feelings. That's the energy that connects with the universe. And then underneath, I have write them. There's the other point of the $7 message today, actually less than $7. Write your affirmations. When I talk today about writing, be sure and keep the journal private. You're welcome to share your journal with your spouse, your best friend, but you'll have more confidence in yourself when you write into your journal and keep it private. Whether it's writing a journal about what you want in life or an affirmation. But write out your affirmations. Every morning I write in my journal. And I'll tell you what else I write other than the affirmations. I speak them into my computer. Now, when I give you the examples of what I do, that's not necessarily a model for you. Pick and choose what you like to do. You can talk into your cell phone also, singing them we talked about. Now, why affirmations don't work? This is very important. As I talked about the modern life we live in with technology of cell phones, texting, and emails. Whether you begin your day with your affirmations and then go to texting, or as you see the picture of the newspaper, you begin reading on the internet the news or physically reading. Do they still have newspapers out there? I think they do. Okay, all right. I think I saw a couple today. One day we will say, remember the days of the newspapers, because we know where they're going to the internet. The problem with the news, and they're making a living, so we're not putting them down. We wish them success also, is that if you affirm, I am success, I am happiness, and then go read about the bad news, some things happen in the other part of the city or up in Washington, D.C., or in Chicago or Washington, you just diluted everything you affirmed. So you have a choice to make. As I've talked to several of you this morning, some of you have turned off the news. You know what happens when you stop listening to news? You'll still find out what's going on. And if your life is in danger, you will still find out. If there's something you need to know, like go turn in your library books or something like that. If somebody's looking for you. The library monitor is looking for you. A problem with the affirmations, why they will not work, there's no consistency. If there's a success principle I want to pass on to you, that is, be consistent as best as you can. I realize all of you have your lives, you have your challenges, whether it's family, work, unexpected phone calls from relatives or friends, but be consistent with your success thinking. People who are part-time thinkers, you'll hear me say this today, will not be successful with their thinking. You'll still be living a life that will not change and will be that way more or less all the way to the very end when you check out. The news you talked about. All right, when I say must be meditated on 3 times a day, that's not a rule, my dear friends. That is a guide that I use, but you want to not only morning, afternoon, and evening see your affirmations whenever you're alone. How many of you find time during the day, and I don't care how busy you are, to have a few minutes by yourself without spouse? Okay. You're worthy of that. Find time to be by yourself, to meditate, to close your eyes and visualize loving yourself and visualize your goals. At that time, mention your affirmations. The lifetime commitment, this is where the challenge comes in. It's a decision you're making now. Am I going to just nod to this guy I just met who's on the stage with this blue shirt and tell him, yes, I'm going to say my affirmations? You don't need to tell me. You need to tell yourself whether you're committed to. That's the work, is I am going to or I'm not going to. All right. Finally, letting go of negative energy, especially anger and jealousy. This is a challenge I and you, Reverend Lee, everybody in the room will be exposed to. The Donald Trumps, even the multi-billionaire Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey had a very successful show. Anybody heard of Oprah? And then Oprah started her new network, OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network. Everybody's heard of that? Yes. Do you know that the thing about flopped at the beginning? Now, there's a lot of technical reasons, but one thing Oprah admitted is that she got away from her gratefulness. We're going to talk about gratefulness in a moment. She got away from her spirituality. Oprah went back to her metaphysical thinking, and advertising revenue came in. Guests came in, viewership came in. So that is a problem there. The anger we talked about earlier with my childhood, holding anger will not help you become a successful, happy person. You will experience anger. We all do, especially if you're driving on this Dallas tollway and somebody cuts you off. It could happen on the way home. You're human. Stay safe. And it's normal to feel anger. It's holding on to it and talking about it. So we need to learn how to let go of anger. We talked about, in my experience, of the family members. Anger neutralizes the positive energy. As soon as you find yourself obsessing with anger, that's when you need to spend time with yourself. Get out your pencil and paper and begin writing how much you love and appreciate yourself, how much you deserve wealth and prosperity, and the anger will start to diminish and go away. Now, what happens when cousin George, sister Carol comes up to you and they're angry? And I talk about that in my book. It does not mean for you to put up your stop sign and say, I don't get myself involved with that. Kind of metaphysically you do that. You just change your thoughts. And I talk that in my book. And it becomes actually quite humorous when they're complaining about Austin or Washington or what's happening in the world. You change your thoughts and begin affirming, I am wealth, I am worthy, I love myself, I appreciate myself. And what becomes somewhat funny is they realize you're disconnected with them. And that is no fun for an angry person when they don't have an audience. They feel disconnected. Aren't we sorry about that? And what you do to yourself is you wish them what? A wonderful life. Now, when they want to come back to the big leagues, they're welcome to join us. Rejection. How many of you have been through rejection? Okay, I've been through it. We've all been through rejection. How many people have been rejected by 5 people in your life? How many people have been rejected by 10 people in your life? How many people have been rejected by 15 people in your life? How many people have been rejected by 20? Good. Welcome to the real world. For those of you who held up your hand, how many people in the world from beginning of life up to now love you, appreciate you, want to hear what you're up to, take a sincere interest? How many of you know 5 people that love you and appreciate you? How about 10 people? How about 20? How about over 100? What I'm pointing out to you is there's many more people out there who love you and want to hear what you're up to and want to listen instead of interrupting you and telling you what they think you should do or not do. You want to minimize your time around those type of negative people and spend more time loving and appreciating yourself. So there's many more people who love you than have rejected you. And as you've heard my experience, and this gentleman back here raised his hand, and I appreciate you. I love you for your confidence in yourself and your honesty, and that's how you let go of that. And that makes you a stronger person. I went through a lot of rejection, and I married late in life. I married a woman that's from this state, from this city, as a matter of fact. I'd gone through rejection, and I experienced all of that, all those feelings. Am I worthy enough? Am I lovable enough? Well, like a lot of people, either they marry early and divorce and start dating lots of people to cover up the feelings, or they just postpone the inevitable of getting married. Well, after I had done work on myself, given myself self-love and self-appreciation, had enough of going through the dating game. Where are you from? What's your name? Where did you go to school? Here's a cassette. Let's just swap cassettes. Okay, maybe I'll call you up and maybe I won't. Or you can just lie and say, I'll call you sometime, knowing it's not going to happen in this lifetime, maybe not even the next time. After dating so many people, and I'm not Don Juan, I guarantee you, by any means, but I enjoy going out with women. But that got old when Christmases and birthdays, holidays would come by. There's more to life than just going to dinner again and hearing the story again, finding out what we have in common. I made a list of the qualities of the woman I wanted to meet. I made it a list of items, of characteristics that were deal breakers, and I would fire her if she didn't have those qualities. Firing means it's not as evil as it sounds. It wouldn't worth it going on a second date. And I would either say that or I wouldn't call, but there were qualities underneath it that were nice to have. And I began to make this list and it became fun. And I want to recommend that to you, especially when we talk about changing your life story. Whatever you want to have in life, whatever your passion is, whether you're a school teacher, if that's your passion, God bless you. If you're a banker, a doctor. But a lot of us have done actions in life or jobs to please families. Who's ever been caught up in the cycle of pleasing people and not following our passion? Okay, how many of you want to find your passion, or you know your passion, but you're really honestly not following it? Thank you for your honesty. I love you. What I'm going to mention to you, pass on to you how I found my dear wife, Ann, that was my passion. My passion is flying, and that's what I'm doing, being with people. I was in training, but as far as meeting the ideal woman, I made this list. Every single night before I went to bed, I would change the list. The items that would be fired from the woman would have to make, in other words, the qualities that she had to have that are important to me, and the qualities, which was bigger, longer, of the nice to have. She likes animal cookies, and I don't, for example. But if I love classical music, and she has to love classical music, which is not true, and in reality is not true. I mean, I do like it. She kind of likes it, as long as it doesn't last over 3 minutes. I would then put that on the top. That would be a deal breaker. I wrote the list and wrote it. And what am I doing when I made this list and change every night? I'm creating feelings, the energy. As I talk about in maybe chapter 26 of my book, the most reasonable, the cheapest dating service in the world is between these 2 ears. And that's how you become wealthy. It's how you find your passion. And as far as the passion, you write down what you like to do. I like to travel. I do not like to travel. I like to help people feel better. I like to be creative. I like to sing. I like to sell. I like to work at home. I like to work with a corporation. I like to work with 20 people. I like to work with one person. You write out the qualities, and the universe will lead you to your passion, and that's how you become a very wealthy person inside and materially by doing what you love to do. Because, and everybody's heard this, when you do what you love to do, wealth follows you. Because you're helping people what? Feel better and have a better life. And the universe loves that. We're going to talk about giving. So I made this big list on one yellow page of a legal tablet, wrote it and rewrote it, moved to this city from Chicago, and I did move back later on. There's a reason. And I was invited to a Christmas party in Fort Worth, Texas, maybe about 10 days later after the list was really being used and exercised and changed and modified. I was invited to this Christmas party in Fort Worth, and I went to get this liquid refreshment called Cabernet Sauvignon, and I looked to my right, and here comes a very attractive blonde woman, and she happened to have that in common also. She was getting some of that red stuff too. And it was natural that we gave into a conversation, and we started talking, and we started talking, and we started talking until I noticed there was a big date of hers over there on that table. True. And I thought, I love what's going on here, but I would not want to be in his shoes, stealing his. I'm not stealing her, but talking with her. I think that conversation would have gone on and on. Well, it has. It's been 12 years. So we met. We were engaged in New York City a year later and married in this city in 2002. What did I do and what can you do? You make a list. Again, we talked about the $7. Write out on paper what you want. You've got to tell the universe what you want. And thinking about it, telling me in your mind what you want to have in life doesn't do it. First of all, it dilutes the energy when you advertise your goals. That's one thing. And the second thing is people think they know what they want in life. They visualize it perhaps, but they have not put it on paper. They have not clearly told the universe the date that they want to have this success. Now, I did have a date by when I wanted to meet the ideal partner for me. And what happens if I hit that date and it hasn't happened? Very complicated. You extend it. Anybody follow on that one? Do you follow that? Just give yourself 6 weeks, a year. But put a date on it. You're telling the universe you're a big boy, a big girl, and you do want this to happen. So write that down. The poison we talked about, and then the final anger letter. What I talk about in my book about anger letters is writing out what you are angry about to a person. And whether it's a person who cuts you off in traffic, whether it's a colleague at work, it can be important and effective to express your anger, especially to a mature person. I do this to my wife. How many people have had a spouse and you had to express your feelings? Or going through a maturing moment is what I call it. But when you're with the partner and they want to hear your anger, what you are unhappy about, and you take responsibility for your hurt, your problem, your issue, without blaming them, you have communication. But if it's a person, whether it's a relative, a person that you're not going to meet with socially, or it's a boss, or a relative that doesn't get it, and they will not get it in this lifetime or the next lifetime, do not go on the mission to change them and fix them. Unless you really have 200 years to live in this life. And it's not going to happen then. It's going to happen when they go through a lot of therapy or they decide to follow your example. And that's what happens a lot of times in life. So write them an anger letter and then pitch it out. A friend of my wife and mine, named Susanna in Munich, Germany, I speak German, fluent German, went through a horrible divorce, another divorce story, And she had a lot of anger towards her ex-husband and the woman he married. Won't go into the drama. That's the last thing you want to hear about that. But what I want to point out was Susanna is a personal trainer in Germany. And it's not as popular as it is here. It's becoming. They kind of copycat what we're doing in good old USA. Her business was slowing down as a personal trainer. She's high-end personal training. You have in Dallas Highland Park, Turtle Creek, and others are upscale. In Munich, it's called Grunewald. That's the Highland Park in that area. And that's the people she trained, and with very high hourly fees at home. The angrier Susanna got, the less the customers would either show up, they would cancel, or the new business. She read my book. And when I say she read my book, I am not bragging to you. I have the information. Susanna had the choice to read it or to toss it. Susanna read the chapter on anger letters, and she wrote an anger letter. And she wrote, and she wrote. And then she got some matches, and that's symbolic. She lit it on fire. It burned. The flame, can you see the flame coming up? Can you see the ashes coming back into her apartment? That's what happened also. Nothing happened. She let go of the anger, and the next day, she got a gigantic personal training account from Grunewald. No coincidence at all. What happened? She let go of the anger. She became a believer. That's what you have to do. You have to have experiences with this, convince yourself, have some good things happen to you, and then you'll find out the best reinforcement, the best evidence that you can do it yourself, that it begins with your thoughts, is when you have a success like Susanna had, and you can do the same thing. I found a wife through the Richard Levy dating service. Anybody know what a dating service? And I swear in the soul of my deceased mother, I never used a dating service. I probably did a newspaper ad, I believe. Don't. And I'm a male. I was scared. Yeah. Why? Because they market themselves. And I look at the women, we do too. The guys, I guarantee it. But when you tell the universe what you want, what your passion is occupationally, or the type of person you want to meet, also the type of colleague you want to have in your business, the universe will answer. It responds to your thoughts. Jealousy and envy. We talked a little about that earlier today. I used the example of the Mercedes-Benz. When you see a very wealthy person, how many of you have, if you'll think back to high school days, friends of yours from childhood, from work, or relatives who've done very well in life, successful? Anybody know anybody like that? They're wealthy, successful, they're happy, they're optimistic, they have children or not children, one home. Oprah has 25 homes. Okay, she isn't really, but she could. Okay. How can you become rich in your mind and feel abundant with the knowledge that Oprah Winfrey is a billionaire with a home in Montecito, I believe, is that the area of the Californians? Is that Montecito, north of LA? And a home at least in Maui and a condo in Chicago. She still has it. How can you make yourself rich thinking about Oprah Winfrey, who does have a net worth over the B level, clearly over, and is growing? You do the unexpected. You wish her more wealth, more homes, more prosperity, more advertising, more guests. And the same thing applies to your friends from high school or college or relatives that seem to be happy, optimistic, they're driving their Corvette, they're eating at the best restaurants. And last week they were in St. Tropez. Where were you? Oh, you're in Galveston. How was it? Well, I'm acting like a snob in that respect. But the point is, when you see a man or woman who's wealthy, and there's a lot of wealth in the city, there's a lot of wealth all over the world. And there's in Moscow. Has anybody seen the new wealth from Russia? If you've been in Europe, they're here. Through the oil and technology. Chinese. There was just on 60 Minutes, this gentleman from China had the biggest closing in America as an internet business, compete with Amazon. What do you want to do when you see a wealthy person that can make you rich and wealthy? Is be happy for them and sincerely say to your partner, your close friend, your colleague, to yourself, I am happy that they're prosperous. I wish more success for them. I'm happy for the great timing that they went live, they went public with their stock. When you are happy for another man or woman's success, the universe hears you and prospers you at the same time. That's the opposite from a lot of us who want to get angry or jealous or envy. So that's what I want to emphasize here, and I have a big section about that in my book. Why is the second bullet on that slide there? When I wish you even more prosperity and success, I am joyous for your 10-week vacation in Europe or Australia, or wherever you went, or Galveston, wherever you went to on vacation. I am telling the universe what? There's enough abundance for you, for her, for him, and for me. I want you to let that soak in because I'm going to repeat that. When you give messages, and however you figure that out, and we're talking about that today, to let your soul know there's enough abundance for everybody, regardless of what the newspaper says. We just looked at the newspaper. You are feeling abundant. And that is what you want to nourish in yourself. Is it a challenge? You betcha. How many of you up for the challenge to create abundance feelings in yourself? Thank you. The more abundant you feel, the more wealth you're going to have in your life. Now, the challenge is, I can hear a lot of your thoughts. I'm not reading your mind. This is not the Gestapo by any means. But when you begin thinking abundance and feeling abundance, and then that negativity comes in, it's your job to change it. And we've talked about how to do that today. So you're going to need to get away from the person, the negativity, the stimulus, and give yourself an affirmation and go back to the abundance feelings. And love yourself. You're not going off as Dr. Phil says, you're not getting off the railroad track. This bus is not going the wrong way. You love yourself and just correct your thinking. Again, the Oprah Winfreys, the Donald Trumps go through negativity. Everybody, every human being does. The difference is they get out of it faster than a lot of people. In fact, I challenge you to pay attention to the very successful man or woman who's doing well in life, who's pretty happy with themselves, and watch the reaction when Fred comes up and starts talking about how bad things are. Have you seen the newspaper? Blah, blah, blah. Watch the successful and wealthy person. It's like Superman or Superwoman. It comes out, it bounces off. And they change the subject, or what happens? I got to go to the bathroom. How about you, Fred? Except you don't go with Fred to the bathroom, because you'll hear more of that. Find an excuse to get out of the conversation. How many of you have been on the telephone with a relative or friend who goes on and on about themselves? Does that feel real good after an hour of that? No, it doesn't. So it's your job to end the phone call, and I talk about it in the book, and there's a little technique. Instead of complaining, I wish they would get off the phone. I wish they stopped talking about themselves. I am so bored. I've got a very important appointment to take my dog in for grooming. Start releasing them in your mind. As they're talking, I release you and I free you. That's a secret to letting go of negative people in your life. I release you, let go. When you complain about them, talk about how bad they are, how boring they are, how rude they are, they're going to be on the phone if you could stay awake until midnight. I promise you. So it's up to us to let go of the negative people or the negative people on the telephone. Abundance thinking, the final part of abundance, the Oprah Winfrey to Donald Trump is, as I mentioned earlier, wish them more prosperity, wish them more success. Abundance thinking, congratulations, success. When you hear somebody is successful, congratulate them, as I said, and wish them even more success. And as you see the picture there of the journaling, Write that down when you see somebody on television or when you're alone time and you think of somebody successful. And even if it's somebody imaginary, or imaginary means you do not know them personally, write down in your journal, I am happy that they have 4 homes. I'm happy that they have great health. I'm happy they won an Academy Award. Does anybody know what Brad Pitt gets per movie? Brad Pitt? I'm not sure, probably $30 to $50 million. A lot of money. It's amazing. We want to be happy for them. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? That's market price for an actor. Now, a Donald Trump, a Brad Pitt, any actor, any doctor, any professional who is very wealthy, they did not get wealthy overnight. That's what you need to understand. They've worked very hard. They've had a lot of failures. They've made mistakes, but they had the courage to keep going. And that's what I want you to do also, and keep in mind. They did not overnight win the lottery. And by the way, how many of us know about lottery winners of 2 million, 200 million, 600 million, and 2 years later, they're penniless? Anybody heard of that before? You know why that happens? They were not mentally prepared for the money. It was as much, if I started, unless you're fluent in German or Chinese, if I started speaking German or Chinese, that's the quickest way for you to say, that's interesting, but I need to go to the bathroom right now. It means nothing to me. If you're not ready for abundance, I don't care if I wrote you a check for $100,000. It'd be fun. You'd feel good. You'd spend it like that. Somebody who is mentally ready for abundance will find an investor. Maybe get a bigger house, a bigger car, but they're going to set out in a savings plan because they're comfortable with the wealth. And this is what we're talking about today. The power of giving and tithing regardless of your income. I know you hear about tithing here from Reverend Lee, and you've read about tithing. I'm not only emphasizing tithing, but giving. Paying it forward. On my radio show, if you go to my website, thoughtsmakeyouwealthy.com, there's, over the last 3 years, many radio shows, and I promise you do not have time to go listen to every radio show, but I interview mostly, well, every person is very successful in some way. Some are extremely wealthy. Some people have been through challenging experiences. One woman wrote a book about abuse. You wouldn't believe what they did to this woman. And I won't tell you what they did. It's in an interview. But I interviewed this woman because she's got a story. And she's a survivor, and she's on the way to become a millionaire. Why? Because she's going to share her story. It's becoming published, and she's going to be on my show, this hopefully before Christmas time. How she is coaching and saving lives. She attempted to kill herself 7 times. And the 7th time would have happened except something stopped her. The knock on the door of her little boy. She was in the bathroom getting ready to do something awful. And he said, Mom, please don't. And she didn't. She said, that's enough of this. Was it horrible what she went through? Did she have reason to have self-pity? You betcha she did. But she said that was her aha moment. It was like mine when my mother told me how much she was hurt and rejected by my father, and I heard the angry message, and I said, I'm not going to buy into that either because I'm more into the affirmations. This lady decided to write a book. Interviews with a gentleman, a college friend from childhood. His name is Arnold Lip. Arnold was, if he was in the audience, he'd be here in jeans. He would be one of you. He's Texan as they come in Houston. Done very well in life. He's one of these people who is a happy person, wonderful family, that is very successful. At the end of my interview with Arnold, I said, Arnold, we have about 2 minutes to go. The audience is so grateful to you for sharing your secret success, how you were rejected to become an accountant, and now you're a partner of one of the largest accounting firms in the United States, in Houston, Texas. You shared with us how you help your employees feel good, how your clients feel good. That's a secret success. How can we thank you? How can my audience thank you? Arnold said with his southern accent, speaking real slowly, he says, Richard, here's what your audience can do, and I want them to listen very carefully to me. And it went about that speed. I'm watching the clock go, because when it show's over with, the computer shuts it off. So I'm starting to scratch. Please, Arnold. He said, I want your audience to pay it forward. I said, oh, God, it's going to take an hour to find out what pay it forward means. And I said, Arnold, we have about 55 seconds. How can we pay it forward? Not knowing what that meant at that time. He said, I want your audience to take what I taught them today, what I shared with them, and give it to another man and woman. Help somebody else become more successful. That's how you can thank me. Do not send me emails. Do not send me thank you notes. He's a grateful person. Do not misunderstand me. He's making a point by that. Pay it forward. Help somebody else become successful. That is another secret to success. Help a man or woman become successful. Does that mean you need to go become a college counselor and give somebody the route to become a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, whatever they want to do? No, that's not what I meant. Give them thoughts of success. You can do that if that's your specialty. You can counsel them, but give them thoughts of prosperity and happiness. Then I interviewed Kanta. Kanta is from India. Kanta is she has a PhD in food. In food. We all like food. Why do you need a PhD in food? Don't you know it tastes good? Well, she has a PhD in terms of the chemicals in food. Kraft, the different food companies hire her to talk to their employees, the companies, on how we can make food healthier. Who's heard of Whole Foods? Of course. The way we're going is never going to turn back is eating healthier fruits and veggies. Everybody in this room knows about that. Kanta talked for an hour about paying it forward and how she's paid a lot of money for talks, $50,000, $70,000 per talk. She has never ever gone out and asked to speak for anybody. She's invited every single time. Why? Because she gives the gift of paying it forward, helping people be more successful and more prosperous by eating the right foods. And she's so smart, she makes it very simple. So that's a radio show you want to hear. Send thoughts of success and wealth. I want you to, before you do this, turn to somebody by you, near you, and say to you, I send you thoughts of success and prosperity. And do that to pick somebody in the audience. Okay, I send you thoughts of success and prosperity. I'm very sensitive, and I can feel the energy level rise in the room. Did anybody else feel that? Do that when you're walking through the Galleria Mall, Macy's. Send them thoughts of success and prosperity. Do that often, and that will help build your abundance energy, your abundance mentality. And write out. Once again, get out your journal and write out to somebody. And they will pick up on the energy, whether they live in Texas or they live in New Mexico or they live in Austria. It doesn't matter. But send somebody giving thoughts. Send somebody thoughts of success and wealth who you do not like. Now, when I say you don't like, that's different from hating. Somebody you don't like is somebody who's not kind, talks about themselves, is negative, has a lot of energy that you don't want to be around. Send them thoughts of success and wealth. Perhaps even release them. I talked about that in my book. You get people out of your life. Be careful because it's a potent, very powerful affirmation when we release people. But giving thoughts of success. And we talk about sharing your wealth. Reverend Ali talks about tithing. Everybody's aware of tithing. When we're not talking about giving money to the American Cancer Society or the Cruelty Society, and that is important. That has a place. I'm talking about sharing your wealth with places that speed you spiritually, that make you a better person. And it could be 10% of your income. It could be a nickel. It could be $1. The amount of money is not important. When you feel good by giving somebody part of your money, the universe records that and prospers you. You'll end up driving home and the lights will be green all the way. You'll get that refund from the IRS instead of that other letter from the IRS. How many of you have been waiting by the phone? When's the phone going to ring? Whether it's a date or a promotion or the boss or a cousin. When you're in this flow of giving thoughts of energy and tithing, the phone rings, you get promoted. You get unexpected trips to Europe or to Asia, wherever you want to go. This cannot be more important and emphasized. Knowing exactly how to write goals is very, very important. That when we write goals, you want to keep the senses sharp. You want to write goals out on paper. And the reason I say that is a goal in your mind saying, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. I want to have $100,000 by December 31st. Say it in your mind, it's not going to happen. I'm going to promise you, that's called Disneyland 101. That is fairy tale. A goal is action to the universe when you put it on paper and see it. And so many of my guests and authors, most are authors on my show, not all of them, emphasize putting goals on paper, make the senses sharp. When you write a goal that goes here and here and here, it does not resonate with you and you. Has anybody written a goal like that, had a goal like that? It's too long, it'll be dead. It's not going to create anything for you in life. Keep it sharp. Perhaps you can memorize it, and you do not need to memorize it. But what you need to do is write it and put a date on it. We talked about that earlier. And if you do not make that date, it's very complicated. You just change the date. But you put a date on means that you mean business. And where do you put the goals? Has anybody plastered goals in their bathroom in front of where you do your makeup in the kitchen? Refrigerator. Where else? Anybody put goals? Anybody else? Any other places? You can put it wherever you get dressed, the bathroom, the refrigerator, and the car. Place the goals out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see them, they're not going to connect with the universe, with your goals. Laminate them. You can put them in your wallet, in your purse. Look at them in a day when you're alone. You know, why do I say that? That's an important point, when alone. Because if you're looking at your goal and your colleague comes up or a relative, most of the people are negative. And they're going to ask you, why are you doing that? You don't need that. And you don't want that. That's what you want to avoid by staying private. So when you go to the bathroom or you're in your meditation time, look over your goals when you're alone. Forgetting about them leads to failure. That's why the goals are not met. And as I talk about in my book, write out the goals that you want and write out a gigantic, out of the ballpark goal. A goal that you almost feel is unreachable. Remember, that's you who says unreachable, not the universe, not God. And put a date on it and let it go. Watch what happens. Send me an email about that. I'll put you on my show. All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Before we go, you might recognize this city. Anybody know where that is? Dallas. This is Dallas. When we come back from the break, take 10 minutes, stretch your legs. I'm going to share with you how my wife and I, remember the one I met through the dating list there in Fort Worth? How we sold our condo there at the worst timing of the market. And that secret is something I want you to apply for your success and your prosperity that you are so deserving of. Thank you. You are beautiful. Love you. See you in 10 minutes. I had a good question that from a gentleman in the audience, and I'm going to share with that in a moment. But just before we start, would you turn to a different person this time and say, I see success and wealth in your life? Great. I felt the energy boost. I'm sincere. So keep that in mind. Giving that energy is such a life changer in your life. Christoph, da hinten, der gut Deutsch können, kann. Christopher there, who speaks perfect German. He speaks what we say High German, Hochdeutsch. He speaks unbelievably good Schweizerdeutsch, that's Swiss German. In normal Hochdeutsch, we say, how are you? Wie geht's dir? That's informal. In Schweizerdeutsch, we say, wie geht's? It's just a different, but because of his parents, his late parents, he speaks unbelievable, great German, and I congratulate you very much. He asked me a question in German. Two things he asked me about. The first question, he gave me permission, by the way, I would never disclose this without his permission, is how can he give a talk like this, a motivational talk, a feel-good, a success talk, in Europe, specifically the German-speaking countries, I suppose he's thinking about it. It could be also London, English-speaking, obviously that would be very easy, but in Switzerland, Austria, or Germany, where German is spoken. And I said, very simple. You visualize it. You write it out as a goal. I will speak in Munich, Germany by December 31st, 2015. He writes a date, what he thinks is reasonable, and writes it down. Without a date, as I talked about before we went to the break, it's a dream and a wish. It's Disneyland. Might as well go ride the carousels there. But I told him, write it down. And to him, it didn't seem far-fetched, but he wondered, what's the second step? The second step is visualizing. We're going to talk about visualization in just a moment. And yes, we could spend a day talking about visualization. We do not have that kind of time, nor do we need it. We'll talk about that in a moment, about how he had visualized. But the tips I gave him, I would like you to pay attention. It's so simple. You don't need to write anything. You just think about this. I said, Christopher, what you would do is visualize yourself in a hotel, for example, in Munich, Germany, or a town he knows well, Freiburg or Frankfurt, and see himself on a stage talking to 100, 500, 1,000, 5,000 people. See the smiles of the audience, hear them applauding, and see yourself going up later and getting the check, a big check. And they say, you are great, you are wonderful, and we want to know, can you come back this time next year? You see, you get an idea of that? That's motivating yourself. What are we doing? We're visualizing it. We wrote out the goal, we visualized it, and we feel it. You've got to feel it, and when you see it. That led to Christopher's second question, seine zweite Frage. That is, how do you know what to visualize? But there's mechanics of visualizations, which we're going to talk about, but how do you know what to visualize? And that I talk about in my book, and very briefly, it's the same pattern as how I found my wife, is that you write down initially, God bless you, auf Deutsch, Gesundheit. You write down on your tablet what you love to do in life. And you just write, and you write sentences or words. And you're going to start feeling energy of what you love to do, what your passion is. What the answer is, I don't know. And apparently you do not know right now, but the universe knows. And you write down on paper the things that you love to do, your hobbies, what makes you feel good, where can you help men and women using your talents have better lives. That's how you become a very wealthy person. And again, nothing about my talk today is as materialistic as saying that I want you to become a millionaire. This is not a get-rich program. Never has, never will be. But it's a get-rich emotionally program. And then you become materialistically wealthy. What comes with abundance? Health, relationships, love, what I call the green light syndrome. You drive down the road, the lights are green, green, green. You drive up to Costco, what parking space is available? The A parking spot, right by the door. So that's where you start. And it's listed very clearly in my book. Write out initially, when you do not know where to go, everything you love to do in life. Not your parents, not your family, not your spouse, but what do you love? And you'll start getting messages. And when you start to find out what you love to do, then use the good old internet. Google it. Get more information. You'll be led where to go. Ask questions. Find somebody in the area that you want to pursue who's successful, who's already done it. A successful man or woman wants to share with you how they become successful. Why? Because they love to give. It's innate. It's part of their DNA. Let them do it. But remember to pay it forward. That is, when you then do very well, when you are making money, when you are having all the good things in life, be sure to share that with somebody else. It's called paying it forward. Does that help out a little bit? I hope. The condo here, we lived Turtle Creek area. Anybody know where that is? Turtle Creek, Lemon at Turtle Creek. And we were ready, I was transferred to Chicago work-wise, and we were ready to sell our condominium. That's great. It takes two things when you sell your house or a condominium: desire to sell and buyers.
Able, willing buyers.
Able, willing buyers. Mr. Real Estate Agent. Exactly right. And what you need to do then is you do not want, everybody's familiar with the phrase tire kickers, like somebody who wants to test drive the cars, but they have no intention to buy it. Angel brings somebody by, they couldn't afford this, but they want to see what it looks like. That's not the type of person we wanted. We began to make lists, the type of person, the value of our apartment, because my wife's a designer. It's a decorator, I guess technically designer's degree. She's an interior decorator, upgraded, remodeled, and it's going to take a specific person who likes the remodeling and has the income and wants to have a balcony, wants to live that part of Dallas, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da-da. That was the first thing I did. I kept that to myself. 2, as I would walk by the condo, it's not in this picture, it would be far in the background, I would visualize a buyer, a man or woman, it does not need to be that specific, living happily in our condo, walking through the kitchen and enjoying life. I did that over and over and over. December of 07, was that kind of a slow time? December 07? A real estate broker in Turkey area called. Out of the blue, we didn't know about showing number 1 and number 2. She said, I'm showing number 3. They want to buy the apartment, and they want everything in there except your underwear. True story. They bought it, and 2 weeks before closing, we got a call from the broker and said, the man, who's a very wealthy man, has a house, oil business in Abilene, has grandchildren here, has the big house in Charlotte. He wanted to know, are the Levies aware that they're going to take everything, that we're going to take everything, their furniture, is that called turnkey, except their underwear? And I said, the underwear's ours. We're keeping that. It's a done deal. So I want to point out, we put out to the university our avatar, the ideal person. We did not get caught up with the market's slow, nobody's buying, extra, read all about all the negativity. That house has been on the market for 4 years. It'll never sell. Who wants to live in a condo in Turtle Creek? We zip that up. You visualize it. You write it out on paper, and it happened. I'm not any better than you. I'm one of you. I have my challenges. I want to share with you one of the 7 steps today. It costs less than $7. The pencil, the notepad, and your visualizations, all you need. What I have here, the front row tickets at a sold-out event. There's a woman I had on my show in California. Her name is Ari Lauer, and her concept is called Act As If. And you'll have to hear the whole interview on my radio show. Ari was the most popular young lady in high school. She's married now, and she found her husband very similar way that I did, with making a list, a little different method. California, Los Angeles area, concerts sold out all the time. Ari always had front row tickets. True story. Listen to the interview. She acted as if she had the tickets in her hand. Physically, she did not have them. No. But she visualized having the tickets, talking to her friends. In her mind, by the way. She's not delusional. This is success thinking. Visualizing, calling her friends, Carol, fictitious name, Pam, whatever, and saying, I've got front row tickets to this sold out concert. Are you interested in going? And hearing them saying, Oh, yeah. How did you get them? She said, do you want to go? That's the thing I want to know. She would act as if she had the tickets in her hand without physically having them, and she was successful every time. You'll hear on the interview how she manifested a home that initially she could not afford, and the universe put the deal together in California, and then how she met the love of her life. She went through a horrible rejecting, there's no other type of divorce, I guess, but a divorce where the husband was not too nice, shall we say. And that's not male bashing, I'm one of them. It can go other ways. Bingo, yes. Been that path. She forgave him, let go of him, and then put out to the universe what type of man she has. And it's on the radio show. Listen to it. Act as if it was, and she runs great seminars on Act as If, and I recommend you visit one as she tours the countries. Visualization, when you visualize, close your eyes and use your 5 senses. When my brother got married, I was told before the rehearsal dinner at Rice University at a banquet hall or some place they rented out, that I was going to speak that evening and toast him at the rehearsal dinner and say some things about my brother from childhood, to kind of make fun and kid and all that. That's great. I had no idea what I was going to say. But I knew I was going to be up, and I was going to be the first person, too. I found that out. So we did the wedding rehearsal in the morning, went back home, and that was when I was still living at home and, during the high school days in Houston. And I put it out to the universe after beginning to read about visualization, visualizing a big restaurant room. Mind you, I did not know where we were going to be at Rice University in this banquet place, but I visualized a room with people. I saw my brother at that time, his fiance, and family members laughing, belly laughing at my comments. And I rehearsed that over my mind. And I did not know, there were no words coming out when I visualized. I closed my eyes. I just saw my lips moving, and the words were flowing naturally. Naturally. I went to bed. No, I took a nap that afternoon. I can remember it like it was yesterday. So it was about 4:30 p.m. We need to be there at 7 for this dinner. Went into a deep sleep. Everybody has the feeling of a deep power nap, and you feel so refreshed. Isn't that a wonderful feeling? So I woke up around 5:15, and I was led, true story, to the desk. And I sat down with pencil and paper, and I wrote the speech out. True story. That night, and I didn't even have, I didn't have a bit of anxiety during this, wondering what am I going to say or how it's going to go across. Because at the rehearsal dinner, she sit down, you have the dinner, you feed your face and chat and joke. And then ding, 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 the glasses with the spoon. Well, we're going to hear from, my brother's name is Mo. Mo's brother, Richard. He's got a few things to share with us tonight. And I stood up. It flowed, and it flowed, and it flowed. And I can still see my family and the friends, probably 200-300 people, almost falling on their chairs laughing. I'm not bragging about me at all. I'm telling you what I did to create that. You can do the same thing. But use your senses, smell the Mercedes, smell the new house, feel the new house. When you go test drive the car, memorize the feel so you can memorize it. If you want that watch, go try it on at Tiffany's, look at it, feel it, wear it, physically wear it, but memorize that. And when you get a picture of it, carry it around and live with it and let the universe take care of it. It's not your job to figure out how that watch is going to end up on that wrist of yours. Your job is to visualize it. Tell the universe what you want and when you want it. The picture, the vision board, I mentioned an aviation. I am an aviation enthusiast, and when I was a teenager, I wanted a radio in the 60s. A lot of you weren't even born then. And this radio, I could listen to the control tower, the air traffic controller talking to the airplanes, etc. It was about $119, which in the 60s, I would guess now is some $200 or more. Did a kid have that kind of money? I was working at a grocery store. I carried around the picture of the radio. True story. When I went to school, pardon me, Miss Teacher, but I still listened to the teacher, but I pulled out, like looking at a picture of a girlfriend, the picture of the radio, I could listen to the control tower. Put it back in the pocket. True story. Had it in my bedroom. Of course, it showed up as a gift. True story. Picture what you want, not fear. That's all I want to tell you. The universe does not care what you visualize. You visualize bad things. You worry about bad things happening. It's going to happen. Now, it either will happen as you visualize it or something similar to what you're visualizing. Does everybody here go through worry and fear? Yes, you do. You want to arrest it. What you want to ask yourself, and this is something I want to say very slowly and clearly to you. When we, because it's we, it's not me, it's not you, it's all of us. When we worry about something bad happening, ask yourself a very simple question. Do I want that bad thing to happen? That's all you have to ask yourself. And your senses will say, no, you don't, and you'll dismiss it. And you may have to do the 1-2 punch. It may come up again a minute later that evening. Ask yourself again, do I want that bad thing to happen? Whatever that is. And your senses will say no. And the more you exercise those muscles, the more you're going to release that negativity. Financial freedom from home in your pajamas. If you wear pajamas, your robe, whatever you wear. And I'm not going to ask you, go around the room what you wear. This is an example of what I do. This is more of a concept. This is my morning ritual. It's something that you may follow. This is in my book, Suggestions. Take some of it, take part of it, take no part of it. That's up to you. From the top to the bottom. What I do is on the bank account, investment account, I have my yellow tablet. Again, that's part of the $7. I divide the left side. This is fictitious. It's to get the feel of wealth. The left side is a bank account, and the right side is an investment account. You can start with imaginary, $10, $100, whatever. Each morning, pay yourself. Get your calculator, and as if you are making artificially a return of 5%, 10%. And what I want you to do is to get the feel of the money accumulating. This is all play-like, but get the feel with it. Play along with it. Yes, your mind's going to say, ha, 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 who you think you are, because it will be up to $55 million. But what I want you to do is get over the giggleness, the nervousness, and start saying, this is something I could handle. And part of it is the bank account that's going up, and give yourself interest more than the real banks do. And the investment account would be your stocks, your bonds, whatever. And just get your calculator and give yourself 1% or 5% income interest that day. It's going to accumulate. And then take 10% of that and tithe to whomever, a best friend, agape, whoever that day, a waitress who came up to you, or a waiter who gave you some advice. And you just exactly what you need to solve a challenge, a problem. In that mind, send them 10%. If your value is $5 million, 10% would be $5,000. Tithe $5,000 to the waiter at the restaurant. Then, okay, so that part is play-like. It's to get a feel. And you can also, as I talked about, visualize, driving the car of your dreams, living where you want to live. But this is way better than worrying about not having enough money. We're changing the negativity. The Gratefulness Journal, these bottom two are the most important of today's talk. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. It's in my book. But I want to emphasize the importance of a Gratefulness Journal. How many of you have heard of a Gratefulness Journal? How many people, and there's no right or wrong, trust me, how many of you fill out a Gratefulness Journal? How many do it every day? Okay, good, thank you. I love you for your honesty. Gratefulness Journal is one of the fastest way, if not the fastest way, to change your fate, change the good days and bad days. I talked about that at the beginning of today's session. Good days and bad days do not occur anymore when you religiously stay with the Gratefulness Journal. Now, I will get a question in my seminars, what if I have nothing to be grateful for? And that's a lie. You always have something to be grateful for. It could be, I'm grateful for the coffee I had. I'm grateful I slept well. I'm grateful that a woman smiled at me. A man shook my hand. Somebody pulled my chair out for me. Somebody smiled at me. Somebody let me in traffic. Somebody didn't use a gesture when I cut them off. Be right gratefulness. Now, here's your challenge and what I challenge you with. In the morning, after you go to the bathroom, and whether it's before or after breakfast, whether you have breakfast or coffee, whatever you do, before you get into the day's routine, fill out your gratefulness journal. And the same thing at night before going to bed. Those who do it will have a change in life. I promise you, and I guarantee it. Those who sporadically do it will have somewhat of a change in life. Some who don't do gratefulness journal, there'll be no changes. Gratefulness journals, by you talking about what you're grateful for, regardless of the challenges you have in your life right now, the pain you may be going through, whatever you're hurting, will change your fortunes. You'll get that phone call, the promotion. You'll find that check in the envelope in your mailbox, unexpected. You will get the phone call that you've been waiting for. I cannot overemphasize that. I have a whole chapter about gratefulness there. The new life story, that is another thing, Christopher, for you and for everybody and for me too. I write to wherever you want to be living. An example I give in my book, I believe, is a fictitious person is living in Boston and they want to live in Los Angeles, in Santa Monica, on the beach, in a condo, blah, blah, blah. So what they do is they write a paragraph in the present tense, not I will, but I am living, and your little voice will say, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, you in Santa Monica, then you say, thank you very much, and keep writing. And that little voice will become quieter and quieter and quieter. I'm living in Santa Monica. My friends are coming over. I'm driving up to Chase Bank, the teller, or Bank of America, depositing the check because I'm following my passion doing XXX. I have lots of friends. I love the warm weather, et cetera, et cetera. That's a big chapter in my book. But write whatever you want to be, however you want to live, write in present tense sentences how you want your life to be, not how it is at this time right now. And that's what this says, the new life story. All right. As we're getting ready to conclude here, step number 7, that's the final of the 7 steps. The all-important ingredient that is left out of The Secret, which is, full disclosure, I liked it, I read it, it's a wonderful book, I matured and grew from it. So I'm not at all saying anything from The Secret, Think and Grow Rich, Thoughts Make You Wealthy, my book. There are literally probably 1 million or 1 billion books, motivational, self-development books. They're all good. They're all excellent. And you want to read a book a week if you can. It helps you keep a positive, abundant consciousness. What is not emphasized enough, except in the latest books coming out, is the word action. People read this stuff, nothing's going to happen. It feels good. And a lot of you in here, I know, are following what I'm saying. Where I challenge you is to take action to do it. That's where your life will change. I'm going to get on the record now, and I'm being on videotape, that if you do not take action, your life will stay as it is. Promise, guarantee, and it'll be that way till you die. And what I want to challenge you also is, as I mentioned in my book, where do you want to be when you're 95 years old or 105, however long you plan to live, and you look back and you say, if I had only followed my passion. I did what they wanted me to do, but I know I would have been a great dentist or working in a greenhouse or advising people how to invest or to be a teacher or to be a psychotherapist, whatever. You want to follow your passion now and make a commitment to take action. So find out what you want to do, and we talked about that. Get that list out. Make a list of the qualities, the things you love to do in life. Choose taking action. And I do believe in the law of attraction, and I believe most of you do, if not all of you. Let go of the importance of the emails, the texts. I still will email. We live by it. That's our life now. I realize that. Texting, it can save our lives. I'm not poo-pooing that at all. But I'm talking about put you as a priority over emailing and texting. Your thinking of affirmations, your thoughts of gratefulness, your thoughts of happiness. Success thinking, as we begin to wrap up, is not a part-time job. And that's what I want to emphasize, if nothing else, about today. That this is a daily challenge. And how do you keep the success thinking going? We talked about the gratefulness journal. We talked about affirmations. We talked about visualization. We talked about writing out goals with dates. We talked about giving each other thoughts of success and prosperity. We did that today as an exercise so you got the feel of how that works. And no, you do not need to go to Kroger and say, I wish you success and prosperity. If you're courageous, you can do it, but you mentally does the same thing. And in a society, we want to protect ourselves. But I can look at you and say, I wish you success and prosperity. And I know you're going to feel that. In my mind, it's just the energy. It's fascinating. But you want to do this as a daily event. And the other two things you can do to help you keep a success mentality is by reading. My book's on sale back there. Go to any of the bookstores. Of course, bookstores are dying off right now, but there's still a few left. But we have Amazon, Barnes & Noble, the internet. Read a book. I know we're all busy. I included, you are too. But set a goal to read a personal development book, a book on success and prosperity at your pace. Is that once a week? It depends on your reading. Once a month. But make a decision to read a book. And you can find a book on your budget. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You can Kindle it, whatever. What does that do? You're going to learn more. And you're going to have more consciousness, a stronger consciousness of feeling success and thoughts and wealth and prosperity. That's your challenge in life. Because you will be, and I will be, we'll all be around the negative challenges out there. That is real life. That's not going away. It does not need to go away. I shared with you challenges I went through. I guarantee you, 100%, you all have your own stories. You have your stories. What you want to use with your stories is to catapult you to success and prosperity and to love and joy. When you change your thoughts, you change your life. And I know that you're capable, you're able. You would not have spent the Sunday afternoon with me if you were not committed to do that. Don't tell me, but tell yourself what you're committed to doing from this point on for whose benefit? Your benefit. It's up to you to tell yourself, I love myself, I appreciate myself. That is not narcissism. Nobody will give you self-celebration, what I call, or self-approval like you can. Yes, it feels good, and it is necessary in life, in a normal, healthy life, for somebody to love and appreciate us, to validate us. But it's up to us to love and appreciate ourselves, regardless of the challenges of childhood that we had. So, who in here is going to accept the challenge? Take an action. Okay. You all are beautiful. I love you all. Thank you for coming out today.